I want to spend a few minutes talking about general education electives and technical electives. It's important to understand that the rules governing these things are changing for students who are starting at Purdue in the fall of 2012, and therefore most of whom will be entering the School of Aeronautics and Astronautics in the fall of 2013. So the rules I'm going to talk about are the rules that are in place for students who matriculated before those dates. And there aren't many of you left in that category, but I figured there's no time like the present. So general education requirements are discussed in the undergraduate plan of study instructions, which are posted on the Aero and Astro undergraduate plan of study webpage. And you can read through them here. I won't do that right here, but they're there. Technical electives are in a slightly different category, and you can read about them in this document as well. Suggested technical electives. Excuse me. Before doing that, I want to go into the plan of study and talk about them in that context. So I'm going to click on plan of study, my plan of study, Aero and Astro, and I'm going to pick one of the fictitious students, Rowdy Purdue, to look at him. And I'm picking him because he doesn't have many gen eds filled out except for the one I picked in the first demo of the plan of study system. Okay, so first thing, there are 8 entries in the right-hand column. The first entry is English 106, which can be satisfied in a number of different ways. It's freshman composition. That is not a gen ed. That's a required course. The second course, FYE gen ed, you are required to take a gen ed from a specific list of courses in the first year. That's not a gen ed either. That's the FYE gen ed. So the gen ed rules we're talking about apply to everything else. And that's the 6 classes that you see distributed down in rows 3 through 8 of the standard plan of study. You are not required to take one per semester, but that's the standard recommendation. Some people obviously come in with a lot of those credits already full, others not. How you do them is up to you when you do them, but there are 6 of them, meaning 6 times 3 is 18 credits beyond the first year. Some people take a bunch of 4-credit classes. Some people take 2-credit classes. It doesn't really matter as long as it all adds up to 18 credits and satisfies the distribution rules, which I'll talk about in a second. Okay, so you have to fill all those boxes with 18 credits. The distribution rules governing those 18 credits are basically laid out in the description posted in the Gen Ed rules template. And basically, all it says is that those 18 credits must be drawn from the following list of departments. And you can read the list. They're basically liberal arts classes. If you want to take something that is not in that list, you'll have to get permission from the department, basically. What is explicitly excluded from the list is anything related to hard science, math, or technology. So if you wanted to take something that was in that list, you would have to provide documentation that despite the subject heading, the specifics of that individual class are really liberal artsy. So it has got to be a spiritual gen ed, even if not in that set of subject areas. Okay, so the distribution rules sub to that are that at least 9 credits have got to be in what's called society. We'll talk about that in a minute. 6 credits in breadth, 6 or 0 credits in foreign languages, and 6 credits of depth. So let's look at each one of those things. So what's society? So let's click on column 1, which is the society column, and clear the description. Okay, do that again. So society, pretty simple. 9 credits must be taken from the following subset of the gen ed subjects. And it's fairly obvious. Okay, go away. History, philosophy, economics, and so on, communications. And again, normally that comes down to 3 classes of 3 credits each, but it doesn't have to. Okay. Let's look at breadth. There's generally confusion about this. Breadth is 6 credit hours in the same department. So you could have 2 history classes, or 2 economics classes, or 2 French classes. It really doesn't matter. There's a subset of that rule that says you can't have more than 12 credits in any one subject area. And I can't capture that in the template, so I just keep an eye out for it. Okay, foreign languages rule. First thing it says under foreign languages is that you don't have to take one. But if you do take one, you have to go through at least the 102 level. So the simplest way of interpreting that, and the way it works for most people, is that if you do 102, whether you did 101 or not, they'll give you 101. So that would allow you to fill in 101 and 102 here. Now, occasionally, people come in with transfer credit for the foreign language, but the 101 level was awarded by the school from which the credit was transferred, and Purdue refuses to grant awarded credit. So occasionally people come in with the 102 level, but not the 101 level, and I just waive that. It seems to me to be silly. Depth. Silly because the real intent of that rule was to have people go through the 102 level. And in the rare instances where people get to the 102 level without having credit for the 101 level, it's obvious that they actually did the 101 level. Okay, so the depth rule, again, pretty simple. 6 credits must come from courses, that is gen ed courses at the 300 level or above, or that have prerequisites in the same department. So any gen ed at the 300 or higher level would be okay. Any course that has a prerequisite, regardless of what level it's at, would be okay. So let me give you some examples which illustrate something. Suppose you have credit for French 101, 102, and 201. That's 9 credits, 3 credit classes. So you could fill in this all boxes in society with French 101, 102, and 201. But 101 and 102 are in the same subject area. So 101 and 102 could fill breadth. It also fills the foreign language requirement, 101 and 102. And depth, well, 102 has 101 as a prerequisite and 201 has 102 as a prerequisite. So 102 and 201 would fill those boxes. So with 3 classes, you can fill every single one of the distribution rules for Gen Eds. Now, some people think that means that they're done with Gen Eds, but you're not, because that's only 9 credits and you're required to take 18. Okay. Now, let me show or talk about some other complications, if you want. We have these 2 rules down here called other rules, writing and speaking and business. Those are independent of the Gen Ed rules, but they could intersect with the Gen Ed rules. So under the business rule, you could take economics. Any of those economics courses, the only economics courses you can take are actually 210, 251, and 252, because all the others have those as prerequisites. Those are the only courses that you could take to satisfy this rule that are actually Gen Eds. They're in that list of subjects that are okay for Gen Eds. All the other things that you take, management, entrepreneurship, engineering, economics, and the IE department, those are all technical electives. And so in the plan of study, they wouldn't go in the right-hand column, they'd go in the left-hand column down towards the bottom in these last 2 boxes here. Okay. Writing and speaking. That requires that you take 300 or higher level course focused on writing and or speaking. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a class where you write or speak, because that could be just something that you do, but it's not the point of the course. It's not the focus of the course. So there's a list here of some courses that have commonly been taken. English 421 is technical writing. English 420 is business writing. English 304 is basically advanced composition. Those are all okay. They're explicitly focused on improving your writing skills, which most engineers frankly need to do. And then there are some comm classes. Now, to get into those comm classes, you basically had to have taken Comm 114. If you didn't take Comm 114, you're not going to get into those classes. And I don't mean to say that these are the only classes you could take, but if you pick one of those, you don't really have to ask permission. It's okay. Anything else I'd have to look at. Oh, and I should say, for those of you in ROTC, either Army, Air Force, or Navy, that we have an agreement to use what you do in the ROTC program to fill this rule. Now, it's not all concentrated in one course. It's spread out over your period in ROTC. So the deal is that the last 3 credit course you take would satisfy this rule. Now, I'm not accepting that as a Gen Ed. Basically because this all came up very recently, and I know that the Gen Ed rules are going to be replaced with something else, and I didn't want to complicate the waters too much. So right now, we're accepting the last AFT, NS, or MIL course that you take, the last 3 credit course, to fulfill the Gen Ed rule. I'm sorry, the writing and speaking rule, not the gen ed rule. Okay. Now, the technical writing, it's sort of technical and it's sort of a gen ed. So that's one of the rare instances where I will count it either in the gen ed column or the technical elective column. And I'm not too picky about that. I'll arrange it any way that benefits you most. The only other thing I want to say is that sometimes I will move things out of the FYE Gen Ed box and move them down as a Gen Ed. Now later on it'll have to be filled with something else. But the point of that is sometimes a course is more useful as a Gen Ed in fulfilling the Gen Ed distribution rules than it is as an FYE Gen Ed where it's sort of standalone. So for example, if somebody takes French 101 and doesn't want to take 102, well, that could be a first-year Gen Ed. Couldn't be a Gen Ed. If you take 101 and 102, then it's more useful. They're both more useful as Gen Eds. And I would then make sure that they both appear as Gen Eds. Econ 251 and 252, a lot of people will take both of those, and then they're more useful in covering the breadth and society rules if they're both Gen Eds. Anyway, I will move things in and out of the FYE Gen Ed rule as it seems to benefit you more. Okay, my 15 minutes is up, and I really ought to talk more about what technical electives are, but that will wait for another day.